the live version of the Do You Rules podcast. As referenced and as mentioned, you can catch the Do You Rules and catch me on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. And thank you in advance for the support, for tuning in, and for doing you, because that's what it's all about. Now, on today's recap, if you would, on the live edition of the Do You Rules, we're going to go over the last topic, which is the consequence of growth. Excuse me, the consequence of comfort. The consequence of comfort, which is lack of growth. I gave that away kind of early, but all good. I'll get into what I believe it means to be in a consequence of comfort. I'll explain how it likely applies today to our everyday lives, because that's what it's about, doing you every day. And ultimately, I'll end with how to possibly break the cycle of comfort, get out of your comfort zone, and work on becoming the best version of yourself, which is important to me and hopefully important to you. So let's kick it off with a story. And this story is quite popular. It's been around for some time. It's probably been told to you depending on your faith. And it's the story of Adam and Eve. And by no stretch do I intend to make this biblical or specifically about God and Christianity, but it applies to the topic today, the consequence of comfort. And the reason why this stuck out to me is because I'm reading the book, The 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Phenomenal, sensational, profound. I mean, I almost can't put the book down. But anyhow, in it, Dr. Peterson goes over the story of Adam and Eve and the summed up version for how it applies to us today and how it aligns with the consequence of comfort is simple and plain. Adam and Eve first apparently was enticed to eat an apple from the bad tree. And after she had her apple from the bad tree, she got Adam to eat the apple. And together, they became conscious. And that's the significance. Apparently, they sought out the power of God. And in that, the power was to be able to delineate between good and evil. So she bites the apple, he bites the apple, and boom, we're all conscious. We all become aware. We all assume the power of humanity, which is apparently also the power of God and Creator, which is to be conscious. Consciousness also brings about self-conscious, the conscious of self, the awareness of self, self-conscious. Now, when I say self-conscious, how does that hit your spirit? Because in today's world, when we talk about self-consciousness, it typically brings to light everything we are not. And that typically aligns with insecurity and fear and doubt, because we know we're not perfect. We're flawed creatures. If you want to stick to biblical terms, we're sinners. We're all born sinners, apparently. So because we have all of these negative traits and qualities, and because we're self-conscious and aware of it, it is quite possibly maybe putting us in a sense of comfort, because when we're comfortable, we're less likely to feel all the negative tones that come with self-consciousness. All right, cool. So we know where we're at. We're conscious. We're self-conscious. How does that align with the consequence of comfort? Here's the problem with comfort. Comfort is synonymous with contentment, complacency, convenience. And none of those, look them up. Go to the literal language. Go to the text. Go to the videotape. None of it aligns with growth. There is no growth in comfort. So if you find yourself in any of those C's, contentment, convenience, you are in a space where you cannot grow, because there is no growth in comfort. What I argued on the podcast and what I referenced also is, while there is no forward growth, there is, however, backwards momentum. Backwards momentum. And let me explain. If you are content and complacent and convenient, you are in a downward sacrifice. You are in a downward sacrifice. And what this ultimately means is your rhythms, your patterns, your habits, and I'll get into a quote on how that applies later. All of those are keeping you stuck standing still. And and when you're stuck standing still, you are in a pattern of non-growth, thereby defaulting into, because we all have to pay debt to life. When you don't grow, you are in a negative balance emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, as you stand still. Why? Because while you stay still and believe you're not going anywhere because comfort feels good, you are actually going backwards. Why? Because everything else is still going forward. Everything else is moving. Everything else is growing and evolving. You, however, are standing still. That's not where you want to be. Speaking of standing still, I'll say it again. Doing nothing is standing still. Doing nothing is standing still. And doing nothing will not eliminate pain. I assure you, everyone can attest. Suffering is on the way. That's another gift of life. We meet the same demise, all of us. Doesn't matter who you are. Doing nothing is still a sacrifice. It's still a sacrifice. Because the time you are given, you are staying stagnant. You hear a lot: stagnation, standing still, no growth. You're sacrificing growth and potential for comfort. Not good. Not good. And ultimately, if you have a negative balance emotionally, physically, spiritually, life's going to collect. And it's going to collect on you. It's going to collect on me. It's going to collect on all of us. I'll say it again to close this piece. There is no growth in comfort. There is absolutely no growth in comfort. You will never find growth in comfort if it wasn't already clear. Now, the quote I referenced, I wrote it down, so I want to make sure I read it the right way. We're going to transition now into how you can possibly get out of your comfort zone, leverage this comfort for growth, and we're doing you, so we want to become the best versions of ourselves, possibly, maybe. If you don't, all good. Keep doing you anyway. All right. This quote is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. This wise man says, sow a thought and you reap an act. Sow an act and you reap a habit. Sow a habit and you reap a character. Sow a character and you reap a destiny. Is worth repeating, but it's a mouthful. So I'll stick to the 5 pieces at the end of it. It ends specifically. And if you follow me for any amount of time, you know I talk constantly about thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to outcomes, starting with your brain, your mind, your thoughts. It all provokes and everything and how you do it. So back to the quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. It ends with thought, act, habit, character, destiny. How does that hit your spirit? And think about it. Let it propagate. Let it marinate. Let it sit with you. Consider the possibilities. Maybe I'm fucking crazy. I don't know. All right. I want to talk now about the proper way, I believe, to leave the comfort zone and to engage the possibility of growth, to possibly become the best version of you. To properly disengage from the comfort zone, the consequence of comfort, to eliminate that from your everyday. We talked about and we started with the story of Adam and Eve. We have consciousness. I always point to my brain. I don't know why. I don't know that consciousness lives there, but let's assume it starts with thoughts. So you have to consciously take an action. You have to absolutely commit yourself, using Ralph Waldo Emerson's quote, to a new destiny. And here's why. You want to create, and I'll get into visualization and projecting and seeing and considering your future you in another episode. But regardless of who you follow in this space, the manifestation, the creation, the visualization, when you think about who you want to be long enough, they'll tell you it'll manifest itself. I'll get into why I believe that's true, but not for today. But here's the power in that. The destiny, your destiny, has to change, and it has to be open-ended. It can't be a finite goal. It has to be an infinite goal. Why? Think of an athlete. An athlete says, hey, I want to be a basketball player, football player, soccer player, whatever it is. I want to be an athlete. When they get there, they've accomplished that goal. A lot of what you see statistically, tongue-tying myself today, is that many of them fail out. Not all of them are LeBron James or Michael Jordan or any of the most popular players that you see. They're not all successful. Why? Because when they reach their goal, they don't know what else to do. And if they're not successful, it's finite. They don't know what to do with themselves. They kind of just cash out. So the open-ended goal you want to create, and damn, I need to digress. I get into my tangents, man, is quite simply this. Your new destiny, consciously, there I go again pointing, is that you owe it to life. You owe it to life to get the most out of yourself. It's the do you rules. You owe it to life to get the most out of yourself every day. That's a wide open ended goal. It's dynamic. It's not static. You can be better every day. Cliche. That's why I'm Cliche Jeff, right? So make that the first thing you do. Consciously, you want to become the best version of yourself by getting the most out of yourself. I believe there is a supreme, divine, and exceptional human being that is waiting to be activated. You just got to activate him, her, them, or they. That's step one. All right. Step two, we have a new destiny. It's open-ended. We're going to be the best version. We're going to get the most out of our lives. Step two is you want to adopt, I'm going to point to my mind again, a growth mindset. And simply put, there's a lot of literature on the growth mindset, albeit it's not as old as far as history is concerned with the mind as you might think. A growth mindset, simple and plain, is the ability to visualize your life as like an obstacle course. And it's a journey. It's a roller coaster. Everything that's put in front of you has to be seen as a growth opportunity. You can't just be accepting of what it is or take failure and stay where you're at. You got to adopt the mindset that whatever happens to me, I can leverage this in some way, shape, or form to grow from. Even pain, and that's part of the opportunity to grow. There's discomfort in pain, but there's growth in pain. Adopt the growth mindset. And I see we got one person on. What's good? I hope you're doing you. If you have any questions and they pop up and I can see them, please feel free. We're discussing the consequence of comfort. The last step to embracing growth, to getting the most out of your life. Woo, it's my boy Vic. What's good, baby? Woo! So the last step to getting out of your comfort zone, to embracing discomfort and possibly growing. Why? Because there's no growth in comfort. Is, as part of the quote, we talked about your character. So you're a character, whether you believe it or not. You wear a mask, no matter where you're at. I have a husband mask. I have a father mask. I have a work mask. I have a friend mask, a human mask, etc. One of the things I didn't touch on, which I'll say here, how it possibly applies, and this is why you're going to rate yourself. How much have you grown in every area of your life? So if we're trying to get the most out of ourselves, and that's our open-ended goal, are you in a 25-year relationship like me, married for 14? How is that gone? Is it been very flat for the past few years? What about your friendships? You got the same kind of friends doing the same kind of things? Are you going to be 42 like me, still acting like you're 11? What about kids? My kids are both, my daughter's about to be a teenager. My son's going to be 11. They're not babies. Am I the same kind of father? As a human, am I still walking down the block? I got my man Vic saying always doing me. If you grow up where I grew up, there's a different way you handle yourself when you were coming down the block. Are you out the block? Are you still acting like you on the block? What are you doing? Have you evolved any bit at all? So what you want to do is adopt a simple scale to rate yourself. 1, 2, and 3. I give you too many numbers outside of that. At least for me, I go fucking crazy. So where are you with your character professionally? With your relationship with your significant other, your better half, with parenting, your friends, as a human, community, and rate them 1, 2, and 3. 1 is needs improvement. All right, that's obvious. There's some areas you know right away. I'm not very good at that. I haven't been holding it down. I need to grow, start getting uncomfortable and grow. Then there's the second space, which some of us will shy away from. It's the comfort zone. Number 2 is comfort. Have I been married for 14 years, on for 25? How comfortable is that relationship? Have you shook it up a little bit lately? Have you, they talk about being in a rut. Have you added some spark, some flavor? What have you done to evolve that relationship? Are you just accepting who he or she is and they've been that way for the past dozen years? Has your relationship evolved in any way? It, even just the conversing with your significant other. Are you still on what you were on when you first started? Like, there's ways to understand that you're accepting of what it is, but you're very comfortable there. And if you're comfortable, is that really where you want to be? I don't know. The third is where I believe you want to be. And this is where growth lies. I believe, and it's not to say that you don't want comfort of some sort. I didn't say that on the episode, but I should have been clear, and I could hear some feedback about, well, don't you ever want to be comfortable? Yeah, there's beauty and comfort. There's a reason why we stay comfortable, and I get it. But you want your relationships to be challenging. You want them to be challenging. And when they're challenging, you have the opportunity to evolve, right? It's friction, static. It creates growth. So label yourself as a human. Go through the exercise. I said in the podcast too, hard work hurts, but hard work works. I don't want to be here giving nobody no fucking exercises. I know what that sounds like, but it's also required if you really want to grow. You got to take the time out to assess and evaluate yourself. And that's the last step in the consequence of comfort, trying to expand outside of your comfort zone. Rate yourself, 1 being needs improvement, 2 being comfortable, 3 being challenging. And no matter what, get to work and stay at work. It's good for you. I want to make sure there's nothing else I want to leave you with before I go. And I did say this, and I wrote this down, and I don't want to not miss the opportunity to say it here too. Once again, to stress for effect, there is no growth in comfort. Hard work works because hard work hurts. I said it the other way this time. Reason being, you're growing when you're in pain. Pain is required for growth, The same way that dark emerges from light, and from the soil will emerge life. A little corny, I said this too. I think it was my boy Drake. Started from the bottom, now we're here. You can't start from the top to get to the top. So as always, my beautiful people, stay blessed and beautiful. Keep doing you no matter what. If we all just decided to be the most that we can be every day, it'd be a pretty fucking beautiful place. So do you. Stay rich.